What's up? Hello, everybody, and welcome to the CM Kozeman End of Summer Spectacular Stream. Now, I hope my sound is coming through, my voice is coming through. We are broadcasting from a different computer than I used to use, but I'm glad to see you all here, all 5 of you watching. Greetings, Dan McAleer. Greetings, Cooper. Greetings, Caden. Greetings, Blake Richardson. Dino Boy Studios. The Chocolat Blanc, first-time commenter. Hello, less irritating. I hope everything is going well for you and you're healthy, hail. And if you're expecting results on anything exciting, I hope they come out well. I am going to get some tea, get the noggin jogging. Meanwhile, I want you, once again, to consider donating to me on Patreon or buy me a coffee. The links are in the video description. Look, for some reason, I got a zit on my nose after years after I came out of my adolescent phase. I got a zit on my nose and I keep squeezing it and the zit keeps bleeding. If you donate to me on Patreon or buy me a coffee, perhaps I could get some topical cream to put on it. And I hope you got your questions ready. If you're watching on the replay, if you're one of the replay gang, well, welcome. And once again, don't think you're avoiding the call out for support either. If you support me on Patreon, you can see stuff like this Snaiad watercolor creature excerpt right here. And almost every day I make new creatures for Snaiad. So there. Just you know, you can get to see scans of this thing, or I don't know, even stuff like this creature, which is like a pig-like herbivore with a long dainty neck. Oh my god, my nose is really bleeding. I put some of the nose zit blood drop on the Snaiad creature. So now it will be immortalized for all eternity. Astromango says hi. Caden Slinker says aliens. Blake Richardson says absolutely beautiful. And Astromango says blood. Yes, there will be blood. I don't make the rules. Okay, getting some tea and fixing the lights and Cup of Void says, it's been a while. How have you been? Well, not bad, all things considered. Not bad. I got lots of new art supplies. So part of my budget I set aside to getting new art stuff, but I don't splurge. I get things that I want to use and I look at discount bins, and I found this fine watercolor paper, well, sketch paper in a bargain bin, and it holds watercolor and pens equally well. So now with a very light wash, I can get this really nice 19th century British naturalist type color effects just like this. Milady class, long time supporter, says hi. 17 of you here. Well, lots of hearts coming through. Thank you so much. Let's check some messages on the other browser. Okay. Cookies says, hello, Kozeman. Nice. And lots of hearts and 100 signs coming up with 18 people watching. We're at 5 minutes, and I think at 7 minutes, I'll officially begin the podcast. Aksjag Film says, Brazilian Miku, which for the uninitiated is this really annoying meme. Everybody is drawing this anime character called Miku, and the Brazilians seem to be more into it than most. And now, at the date of recording, which is the 26th of August, Twitter, at least my Twitter feed, was flooded by lots of these soulless Hatsune Miku images. I am not a cynical person, but this thing is not great, even as far as anime girls go. Gabe Etron says, yo, a big fan, hello to you. Marcio says, the photo behind you looks like the Mystery Man from the Lost Highway. It's actually a birthday gift I made for my father years ago, and it's a portrait of my father. Well, it's officially on at 7 minutes. It's Lady Spookaria, says, hello, hope you've been good. All is well. I think this is the last stream I'm making this summer, but I'll make more soon. Milady class, what about Swagapino, Filipino Miku? I don't know. I'll have to Google that. Oh no. I don't know. Maybe I'm getting older, but this sort of thing doesn't even register to me. It's just like, I mean, cute teenage girl stuff. I guess some of them are interesting, but no, I don't know. Cookie says, you've summoned the Filipinos. Astromango says, oh God. Milady Class says, lol. Okay, let's see what we can do. Now I'm going to share. Just a second. Oh no. Okay, we're in a bit of a pickle, everybody. Because I cannot share my screen with this computer. So we're going to have to do it the old-fashioned way. So do you want us to do some dramatic reading? I was going to take you out on a Google Maps tour, but now I can't do that without quitting the stream. So it will just have to be a questions and answers kind of stream, I guess. Plus, I got this really nice book, Voyage to Venus by C.S. Lewis, who was a Christian apologist, but he has some really base things to say about space travel and the indomitable human spirit. So we could look on those. Cupovoid says, yeah, in the worst case, maybe put a mirror in front of the monitor. Maybe. or we can just answer your questions. So if you got questions about science fiction, life, where the world is headed, anything, please ask me. I am really interested in talking about how young people feel, especially in this day and age. For man, woman, do you think we are in a hopeless age? Do you think many people have mental disabilities or disorders? Do people feel hopeless or maybe hopeful in a way I am not privy to? So let us have your questions. I am really, I really am happy to talk about quote unquote Gen Z woes and like what are your biggest fears or biggest problems? Maybe the last bittersweet days of summer could be a good excuse to play agony aunt. Milady class says, please see my previous message. And Milady class says, started studying cultural anthropology. My professor is a man from Turkey. Wow, where do you study, by the way? Could it be Lehigh College or which university? Rule of the thumb is if a Turkish academic is in a European institution, he or she may not be actually really great. They may have a sickeningly compartmentalized look on life, and they may be really inept in areas outside their immediate purview. Rule of thumb is if a professor or an academic is in the United States and he or she hails from Turkey, then that person is more likely to be good at his and her job, probably a better character too. And Milady class says they study at Northampton Community College. I hope, well, say hello to your professor. And I hope you have a great time. Starting college is a great and hopeful time. Bogi says, what's up, Kozuman? How is it going? It's going well. Well, it's going well-ish. Let's see how things pan out. Oxjog Film says, would it be more or less ethical if we used unborn fetuses as a source of power? This is, of course, a conundrum from the Matrix movies, where they put people in jars and harvest their body energy and plug them into the Matrix so they don't die. Trouble is, the Matrix is science fiction. And don't forget, even the most realistic science fiction is still as realistic as the most silly fantasy. So the Matrix is about as realistic as Winnie the Pooh. That is to say, it may have certain interesting things to say about life, but it is not real. And on your question, ethics notwithstanding, you cannot obtain power or consciousness from human fetuses. So it's a non-question. Jerry Caleb says, I am from the cross between Gen X and millennials. Am I going to learn what skibidi means? Brother, if you don't know what skibidi means, even I know. It's the toilet man, the toilet G man. Les IRR had a question for you. Let's scroll up. Lori Sinai, good friend from California, says, good day. 26 people watching this weird guy ramble. What are your thoughts on Alistair Reynolds or hard sci-fi in general? Do you think it sets boundaries for human creativity with too much science in it? Mm, Alistair Reynolds is the guy who wrote the Neutronium Alchemist. No, let's see. He's a Welsh science fiction author. I'm afraid I haven't watched any of his. I haven't read any of his works, but science fiction writers from the British Isles are always very talented. So I think he's great. Bogie says, "How would Skibby the toilet make sense evolution-wise? Would they be creatures that use aggressive mimicry to eat people?" Well, it could be possible if, imagine, modern human cities are a very new phenomenon. I mean, majority of the world did not even have toilets until something like 50 years ago or even 30 years ago. So imagine somehow cities are able to exist on Earth without humanity destroying the world for 100,000 years, 5 million years. Imagine this is like a popular fantasy I keep going back to, the infinite city, the eternal city. So imagine you got like a self-sustaining city life in the planet, on the planet. And like for millions of years, there are cities with public transport, roads, electricity, and houses with rooms, including plumbing and toilets. Now, if this habitat persisted for tens or maybe hundreds of millions of years, creatures would evolve and they would be really adept at mimicry. So you could have some sort of skibidi toilet creature. You could have animals mimicking the colors of drywalls to camouflage. I have no idea what the skibidi toilet creature would evolve from, but a lot of weird things could happen if our cities lasted for millions of years. Lori Sinai says, I am going to a local library to 3D print an iguanodon skeleton. Wish me luck. Good luck, my friend. Cookie says, do you think ring worlds are possible in the far future? Okay, so the ring world, imagine this thing is the sun, okay? Right here. Now, the planet is around the sun like so, and it revolves planet around the sun. Now, imagine there was a band of material that was as wide as Earth's orbit. You would have a habitable literal belt around the planet. And it would have billions of times the surface area of the world, and it would spin around the sun, so the centrifugal force would create some sort of gravity. Trouble is, such a structure would be like so wobbly, and if you wanted it to stay solid, the tensile strength of the material, according to a calculation, would be higher than the strength binding atomic nuclei together. So because of this, actually, the ring world authors, well, just Larry Niven, had to create this made-up material called skrith, which was like black and completely frictionless and also like super hard. But this material doesn't exist in our, according to our current understanding of the laws of physics. It's impossible. It's an impossibility. So ring worlds are impossible, but something smaller could work as like a very big space station. Why would anybody make this though? I don't know. Okay, let's get some questions. Actually, let's get a roll call. 25 people watching. Where in the world are you all from? Let me know, and I will be right back with a little surprise for all of you. Okay, I will read everybody's locations as soon as I'm back. Where are you from? Where are you from? Where are you from? All right, so many people around the world. That's why I love you guys. I'm so blessed to have this crowd. Let's go. Astromango says, I'm from Venezuela. Bulgaria says, Bogi. Blake Richardson is from Michigan, USA. Lori Sinai is from California. Ax Jacques Films is Florida Face Eater, eating faces. Ornis is from Canada. Kapo Void is from the town I was born in, Ankara, represent. Jerry Caleb is from Georgia, USA, the land of peaches. Astromangos, I believe, is from Ukraine, judging from the blue and yellow colors. And, well, Ukraine seems to be really kicking Russia's ass right now. In my view, this is either two things, one of two things, maybe both. Either you guys got a lot of unacknowledged help from Western militaries because the offensive seems to be going really powerfully, and slash or the Ukrainian military seems to have Trump proofed its offensive. That is to say, they've evolved the war into such a state that if Trump becomes president, he can't just pull the plug on it because, well, they're winning. Anyways, look, I hope this awful war ends with the most justice and the least loss of life. Social Orchestration Concert is from Ireland. Cookies is from North Carolina. MB Garan is from Gürpınar. That's in part of Istanbul near Beylikdüzü. Because there's two Gürpınars. There's a neighborhood near Istanbul, and then there's also a town near the city of Van, which is like quite a far off distance away. I don't know. Milady class is from Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. Nice. Very nice town. Astromangos, born in Venezuela, living in the USA. Absent Fish is from Colchester, town with the most inaccurate pictures on Google Maps. Lars is eating ice cream in a beautiful summer day in Canada. Ax Jacques Film says, if I'm pure blood Filipino and I live in Florida, does that make me double South or Southeastern Southern? I think it makes you an American. Then you could be any type of American you want. Dan McAleer from Scotland. Astromangos is sick of this Floridian day. Mercurial is from Ankara. Ankara, güzel Ankara. Astromangos from Venezuela and Ukraine. Astromango says, "Is there a fly in your room?" Look, I got a gift for you. A week ago or so, I came back from actually something like a summer holiday with my dad, and we did a father and son road trip across the western part of the country. And on the road, we stopped at a town called Manisa, which in the ancient times was known as Magnesia. And there I had to chance to obtain this incredible cologne made out of tobacco leaves. So this is like a alcohol laced tobacco leaf extract, and it's just wonderful. You can rub it on your face. It's very fresh. You can rub it on your scars. You can rub it on any part of your body you like. And if you do this, oh my god, it's just so fresh. And I particularly like the pain it inflicts on the sore bloody zit I have on my nose, and it's just freaking amazing. It burns my eyes, burns my face, burns my pores. God, it's different from normal alcoholic cologne. It's got a more like ashy flavor, which I love. So yeah, Magnesia tobacco cologne. I can't recommend this enough. And well, if you've been watching this channel for a while, you probably know that one of our go-to things here is the recommendation and subtle marketing of obscure Turkish snacks and condiments. So, yeah. Lars says, I'll take your entire stock. I'll just Google Amazon.com proper. Just a second. Just a second. Okay, I'm looking for. I mean, something called tobacco cologne does exist in the US, but is it the Turkish brand? I have no idea. I'm just looking at Amazon.com now. This is the silliest stream I've done, and look, I'm a bit tired. It's the beginning of the week, but so nice. Astromango says, I have a sore throat, probably from air conditioning. I hate these devices. I hope you get better soon. So I got this really nice paragraph in here. Let me do a reading. I was actually contemplating doing with an online friend, doing a Bible reading or another holy book, but I think that's just too hard and heavy and too inclined to be political. But I do have an arcane voice when reading it, and it's very textured. Okay, so in this book, there's this one guy who's more like good side of the force. He is a Christian and he does believe in God, and he's sent by something like an angel on a mission to Venus. And there he meets a sexy nude green lady, this one here. And also an evil guy comes from Earth with a spaceship. And he wants to bring the indomitable human spirit to Venus and colonize other worlds. But he's actually possessed by Satan. Don't ask me how. C.S. Lewis, look, I know Christianity gets a bad rap because it's linked with conservatism and fundamentalism. C.S. Lewis' other books, Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, all have this like Christian streak running through them. But I think there are some very nice ideas in these books, and he's also a great writer. Also, C.S. Lewis, just look him up. Look, he wrote a bunch of stuff. And even if you don't agree with him, even if you're not on the same page, you can really learn a lot from a mind like this. They just don't make people like this anymore. They can be Christians, they can be atheists, they just don't make people like this anymore. And I just found it interesting because currently there's like a small cottage industry of conservative sci-fi enthusiasts who say they're Christian, but they're like Christians as in the bro sense of things, I guess. They're like my culture Christians, statue profile picture Christians. And these people also defend the indomitable human spirit. And we need to colonize other worlds. Colonel Quaritch did nothing wrong. The Navi are savages, like that sort of humanity fuck yeah crowd. They align with Christian conservatism these days. But let's see how different it was in 1943 when C.S. Lewis wrote this book. And a lot of C.S. Lewis ideas are reactions to the mindless materialism that was brought to a boiling point by the world wars. So, anyways, here's what he says about it. Mhm. Oops, sorry. Okay. The evil guy was a man obsessed with the idea circulating all over our planet in obscure scientific journals and monstrous magazines, ignored or mocked by intellectuals, but ready, if ever the power is put into its hands, to open a new chapter of misery for the universe. It was the tainted idea that humanity, now having sufficiently corrupted the planet where it arose, must at all costs contrive to seed itself over a larger area. This is just exactly the make life multiplanetary shit you see that, well, perfidious people are sprouting these days. That the vast astronomical distances which are God's quarantine must somehow be overcome. But beyond this folly lies the sweet poison of the false infinite, that the wild dream, that planet after planet, system after system, and in the end, galaxy after galaxy, can be forced to sustain everywhere and forever the sort of life which is contained in the loins of our own species, a dream begotten by the hatred of death upon the fear of true immortality. This is a nice quote. So he basically says people who have these like make life multiplanetary dreams are fools, and this folly comes from a fear, an unrealistic fear of death. And I can really see that resonating with a lot of smart looking stupid people in the present day. I mean, of course, we can immediately think about the entrepreneurs who want to go to Mars, but it's just PR to sell you electric cars. On the other hand, you have like true transhumanists like Ray Kurzweil, who has like a crippling fear of death. He just wants to be immortal. And, in his bullshit theories, the technological singularity is just around the corner, just before his generation is about to fucking die, these boomers, just before they're about to fucking bite the dust, there's going to be a singularity and there's going to be a nanotechnological revolution or some shit. And you're all going to be immortal cyborgs. Man, you'll be able to keep playing golf, I suppose. But I think C.S. Lewis does a great job here showing how this like dumb faith in the infinite premise put forward by technology is actually rooted in a very childish fear of death, the rather naive belief. Lots of comments. I will get to them all. Okay. These poisonous ideas were in secret fondled by thousands of stupid men and hundreds of reasonably smarter men. And so there, I think it's just a really succinct agree or disagree with this guy or his view of Christianity. What he said in those paragraphs were like solid truth. Like if I could make a little holy book of interesting quotes, I think, which I think are true about life, I think this would go in it. Milady Class says, are there any books similar to C.S. Lewis but written by a Muslim or a Jewish person? Well, if you're looking for something written by an ethnic Jew, you can look at All Tomorrows because that is what I am. But that religion, at least on the surface, does not inform any of my writing. Jerry Caleb says Frank Herbert wasn't Jewish or Muslim, but worth a mention. I think, look, the fusion of Christianity with science and science fiction mostly happens in the United States these days. And it also used to happen in Victorian England. And these societies were somehow unique because they had this religion and technological progress running together hand in hand. Mm. Cup of Void says Gene Wolfe's book is, I think, a good example of that fish fusion. Never read it, but must be good. I think even in Arthur Clarke's work, there's like a very distilled sense of Unitarian-like Christianity, especially if you read like the Rama series, Rendezvous with Rama, Rama 2, Garden of Rama, Rama Revealed. At the end, it turns out, well, in Rama, there are these like big cylindrical spacecraft coming through the universe, and they visit solar systems and pick up species. And every zone of the cylinder, like there's a species living here, there's a different species living here, different species here. And they go to a sort of galactic node and they rendezvous with other Ramas. And it's a slower than light travel method for, at the end, it emerges that God is making and sending these spacecraft. And it's a way for forces ruling the galaxy in God's proxy to contact organic sophons on planet and get to know them. And I think that's great. Less irritating says, I heard that Rama will be made into a movie by Denis Villeneuve. I haven't heard of this, but I hope it happens. Bogie says, what do you think about the original Alien 3 script with the wooden space station and the monks? I'm not joking, this is real. Yes. So Alien 3 went through a lot of rewrites. So the Alien movies, I'm just being pedantic, but there's Alien, then there's Aliens, which is like the more like a war movie kind of stuff. Then there's Alien 3, which is like an acquired taste. And in this movie, Ripley goes into a prison planet, but there's a dog alien, and people talk about religion and spirituality while also trying to capture this deadly creature. When it first started, this movie's script had Ripley going to a forest planet, and there are these wooden monasteries there, and then there's also the alien running loose. And I think they changed it because the sets would have been impractical without CGI. And then it would be wonderful if a director like Terry Gilliam could have had a crack at this. Director of Brazil and lots of weird Monty Python skits, Terry Gilliam. He also directed 12 Monkeys, and I think an alien film directed by him with a weird setting would be like a really strange experience. Blake Richardson says, hello, I'm back. 22 people watching. Hello. Okay, we can't share our screen tonight. We got some limitations. I would love to take you out on a kind of Google Maps tour again, but I guess it is what it is. I need to relaunch the browser, but I would have to end the stream, so I'm afraid it's a no-go. Let's get some questions about life or science fiction or what we just read, and I'll do my best to answer those. Meanwhile, I'll get some refill on my tea, so I'll be right back. I'm going to get some chocolate too. I like that stuff. We can have lots of fun even without Google Maps. I'll be right back. We have a cozy family gathering. You're enjoying the nice background sounds. And please get your questions in. I will be right back.
Dondurma çöp torbası aldığımız yerin adı neydi ya? Var mı İstanbul'da? Hı? Ne bunlar ya?
Neler?
Şunu.
At içine çöp.
İyi geceler. Bot Pirate says, "Naber dostlar? I did not know you were Turkish." Ornis says, which post-human would you like to see as a plushie? Maybe the snake people, but like a really big one, like 6 feet long. Milady Class says, what do you think about the new Alien movie, Alien Romulus? Well, go to this channel and watch my earlier video because I have a big movie review about it. Işıkları söndürme. I I got a big movie review about Alien Romulus, and I think it's probably the worst Alien movie, maybe after Alien and Predator 2. It's full of overexposition and it's like a fucking carnival ride. It's like a one of those escape room kinds of things. First act, they're a bit like, oh, it's Alien because there's facehuggers. Then it's like, oh, here's some rifles, and there's also more aliens. Now it's like aliens time. We're gonna shoot some aliens, and then it's like, oh, now there's a lab. It's Prometheus time, and it's just like going through the motions. It tells you what to feel, what to fear, what to be afraid of, and it's just boring. But it was good to rant about. CG's GG channel. Will we ever get a podcast about all those weird and obscure Triassic reptiles? Good idea, actually. I have the idea in mind to do a car cryptids video, which are like all these like weird cryptids that are car related or themselves cars. And I'm talking about like, oh, the people who hide under your car late at night at mall parking lots and slash your ankles. In Russia, there's a story about a black unmarked car, and apparently Satan himself rides around in it. Even in Turkey, some vehicles have legendary status, including the infamous or heroic white Toros. The Toros was a kind of Turkish-made local car. It was a Renault clone produced under license. And during the 1990s, it was ubiquitous, and it's like not a very strongly built car, but it goes where it needs to go, okay? During the 1990s, there was also a treasonous terrorist movement to basically split Turkey up. And these terrorists, as well as a lot of potentially innocent people adjacent to them, a lot of potential fellow travelers, got dealt with in an undocumented dirty war as Turkish paramilitary forces used white Toros cars to drive up to their doorstep, pick them up. These people were never seen again. And then this kind of grew into obviously a legend with some political connotations too. So yeah, lots of car cryptids with lots of different ways to go. I mean, there's also more like whimsical stuff, like Elvis driving around at night as a ghost with a phantom Rolls Royce. There's the famous, I think it was called, there's this one 1990s horror movie where kids are fooling about on a CB radio and they mess up with a truck driver. Turns out this truck is a ghost truck and it starts chasing them and stuff. Astro Mango says lady car, and I don't know. Ali H says best sci-fi film or book involving insectoids. Hands down, it has to be Paul Verhoeven's Starship Troopers. It's just like visually, thematically, it's flawless. Also, I think a runner-up would be the Geonosis scene in Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, where there's this arena with all these insects, and then it's like an incredible scene when our heroes are captured and they get led into this arena with millions of insect people crowding the ranks, crowding the seats, and it's just a wonderful scene. But Pirate says Herbie is the true car cryptid. Yes, true. Herbie was an intelligent Volkswagen car who was the star of an eponymous film. I think by that extension, even the Cars universe could be at least touched upon in this thing. So yeah, here we got. If you know any more car-related cryptids, they don't have to be cars. They could also be things near cars. Please let me know. BTW says, I am visiting Turkey in a few weeks. Do you have any must-see suggestions in regions? Istanbul, Selçuk, and Kaş. Love your channel. If you're coming in a few weeks, you're coming in autumn, definitely see Istanbul, see the archaeological museum, go to Ankara, see the Museum of Anatolian Civilizations. I think these two museums are like world-class museums. You could also explore, like when you're in Istanbul, try to explore the urban life and of course like do the historic bits too, but urban life is where it's at. Also, Ankara is a really cozy town. I think it's a great place. If you're in Selçuk, it's the site of historic Ephesus. It's a great town. I was there actually. And well, if you're there, there honestly is only one place to stay, and it's called Nishanyan Hotel. That's Nisanyan, Nishanyan Hotel. It's on a village in a. It's in a village 10 minutes drive away from Selçuk town. It's on a hilltop. The views are spectacular. It's a storied hotel, but it's a wonderful place. I would say maybe. There's a little village near. So there's a big holiday destination named Bodrum. That's Bodrum. It's way overcrowded now. There's a smaller village named Mazi, Mazi, and it's still very rustic, relatively unspoiled. Mazi. Go there if you're coming with a loved one or like a lady friend or I don't know, like a significant other. Go to Mazi. Also near Mazi, go to Ören, which is this very quiet, beautiful town built around the Hellenistic necropolis, next to a mountain that looks like a smaller version of Mount Shasta by the sea. It's called Ören. That's Oren. Luca Ricci says, what are some interesting fossils or rock formations to design a castle tower? So you're designing a castle tower that will look like a fossil, I guess? It would have to be heterotroph ammonites. So ammonites, have these like spiraling shapes, but there are some unrelated groups which bent this spiral out of shape and they've got all these weird looks now. And they were called heterotrophs. Heteroph, heterotrophic ammonites. Go look those up, yes. But Pirate says, I am on holiday in Çıralı, which is like a small town near Antalya, near the Mediterranean Sea. It's near the site of Olympos, which was in classical times a hotbed of piracy. Before that, it was like a bustling Hellenistic and Roman city, but then pirates took it over. I think still there's a lot of pirates running around that place. It used to be, Çıralı used to be known as like the hippie getaway place. And I mean, I do have some nice memories there. And you could go out on a beach. So let me, how do I show you this? Okay. Imagine this is the sea, okay? Everything here, this is the sea. There are the historic ruins near the sea, like so. And then after them, there's like a huge beach, very long and virgin, turtle's nest there. Behind the sea is like a small river delta and something like a small forest. And then in the hinterland, there are some motels and bungalows. And that's where like all the hippies used to come to stay, to camp, maybe just even sleep on the beach. And it was very difficult to get to this place back in the day. Now, like this place, half of it has been converted to a parking lot, and in the weekends it's very busy. It used to be, and I was lucky to do this back in the day. You could come there as like a single interesting guy or a girl, just walk down to Çıralı, get a bungalow. The rooms would be like $30 or something. And then just meet people, make friends, explore the city together, go sleep on the beach. In the night, the sky would be perfect. You could see every star, and friendships made there did not stay friendships for a long, I mean, mystery and love and eroticism was in the air. And now it's still beautiful, and if you go there with someone you love, it could be still very interesting and beautiful. But I've noticed this with all walks of life, but it's getting really hard for any person to meet. You know, you used to meet people in the, I don't know, supermarket, or like when you would like comment on somebody's t-shirt or something. That thing is becoming rarer. And I think it's because of two reasons. One is economic downfall and uncertainty. Nobody has like time to flirt around anymore. Second is probably the proliferation of dating apps, and I think the third would be the fear of fellow human beings brought about by COVID, and actually a lot of people still haven't recovered from that. Jerry Caleb says, I can talk about ghost ships, which are closest to ghost cars. Maybe. Sorry, absent fish makes this comment. And then Jerry Caleb says, ghost ships evolved into ghost cars. Yeah, classic case of adaptation. There must have been a ghost ship Tiktaalik which evolved wheels and started crawling about. Let's look at some messages. Okay. Bot Pirate says, people are very close, but I try to be as friendly as I can. Yes. Knowing limits is also important. Bot Pirate says, I am just reading GYO for the first time. Great manga to read on the beach. I am not familiar with that one. Ornis says, mental illness has terrible ways of isolating you from fellow human beings. I'm speaking from experience. It's awful. Well, take it day by day, and remember, your parasocial YouTube friend is always here to listen. Blake Richardson says, how do you use ballpoint pens for Snyad? Some details here are done with a ballpoint pen. I mean, like this Tosh scalation here. These are all ballpoint. I'll just show you by tilting the screen because I cannot connect my upside top-down camera either. I was not prepared for this stream. But here's how they work. Okay. What should we draw? Tell me something to draw. And I will show you the ways of the ballpoint pen. Astromongoose says, the more I look at the GYO manga, the scarier it gets. I don't know. Look, I only read a few manga books. One of them is called Barefoot Gen. It was about the atomic bomb. I actually stole that from my father's library. Really good book. Another manga series was Neon Genesis Evangelion, which I read during COVID. After like 3 months of fucking lockdown, I just like, that's it. If I get sick, I don't care. Turns out it was all a charade, but I got out and I spent like a huge amount of money for that day on the complete set of the Evangelion mangas. Really like those ones. But then after COVID, I kind of fell out with manga and anime. But I'm glad I got those in my library. Luke Carici says, draw a ghost ship tetrapod. Landfish. Okay, we're gonna do landfish. Let's get some references. Okay, so let's tilt the screen down. This is your ordinary Pensan office pen, ballpoint pen. Great thing about these guys is that they're very versatile. The more you press them, you can get a thicker line. If you're light on them, you can get shading. The trick is to have some paper below your paper. Because if it's on a hard surface, this effect doesn't work. So you got to have some like paper as a bedding. And let us go. I mean, look. I'm doing very light lines at first. These are the rear fins, and I guess these must be the front fins here. So now you just got a few guidelines in place, okay? Just so. It's upside down, but you gotta live with it. You gotta live around it. So like so. A good thing about these guys is that you can press down to do a sort of By the way, you can commission art for me, and like when I get commissions, I do a best job that I can. They're fully shaded, fully colored, and I can draw anything you like as long as it's not gory or sexual. So now you got your basic creature. If you press down on it, the lines are thicker. If you just use your shading, well, there's a mistake here, but if you just use it very lightly, you can get very light lines. And that's the great thing about ballpoints. Like so. I don't have to press, just I'm being very light, and I'm just adding some texture here. Mm-hmm. Blake Richardson says, I think my main mistake is the surface. I draw on a very hard and rough. No, no, no. You gotta have paper below it. Ali H says, could you do a Bob Ross style series? Well, on my channel, I got a lot of tutorials. They're as close to Bob Ross as you can get. There's this thing with modern viewers that like when you're looking at a YouTube channel, you're somehow allergic to older videos a person did. But usually they're just as good as the new ones. You should try them out sometime. I'm doing some sort of shading because this thing is on the ground and I just want it to be. Caden Slinker says, behold the majestic mermaid. Bot Pirate says, brother, your artwork is great. Well, thank you. Now, this is a land-dwelling fish. It's kind of flopping about. So what's really going to set this apart, more than even the textures and the lines, will be the addition of an a counterintuitive side character. We're going to get there soon. So why don't we look, just hold it by the side and very lightly just shade. Bot Pirate says, please join the CM Cosman Discord. Yes, please do. I don't use Discord, but I'm really happy when people talk about my stuff there. So now slowly we're giving it some sort of shading. We're gonna make it like striped, at least on the first 4 quarters. Just notice we're just using black and white, no other colors. There's the lobe, so this doesn't go there. Eh, just flopping about on dry land. Yes. Not bad. Not great, not terrible. "17 people watching. Astro Mango says I'm drawing a landfish." Okay, now we're gonna do something really cool though. Wait. To drive home the point that this thing is on land, we're gonna give it a terrestrial companion. And you notice this ibis bird is shaded lightly, so the focus does not get on the bird, but the focus is instead on the fish, which is, yeah, you don't even have to like draw everything. Then you can just insinuate at the landscape by a few lines. Just hint at some plants and shit. I really like that. Like when I put pen to paper, I can see the whole picture in my head. And for a long time, I was like, oh, maybe probably everybody draws that way. But then I was like, oh, you have to plan it? Ah, okay. Okay. You mean it doesn't come to you in a single flash? You mean you don't know where everything is instantly and inherently? Oh, that's weird. That's cool, I guess. Yeah. Here's some hints of the delta with more birds flying in the background and some mountains. And sign. Stamp, seal, and approve. Ooh. Zambram says, "Do you have any tips for drawing like you? Just keep drawing, drawing, drawing, draw and paint every day, and eventually your hand unlocks." Beat says, "Hello, Mr. CM Kozeman. I hope you're well. I am great. I'm better now that you are here." Bot Pirate says, "Flopalagus." Jerry Caleb says, "It's camouflaged in the reeds with those stripes." Well, good idea. Zambream says, "Did you go to art school?" Well, actually, no, but I did take art classes. I started college in Cornell University down in the US of A. Then, after a couple of years, I actually transferred to a Turkish school and graduated from there because I was homesick. I then did my master's studies in the UK. And in Cornell, I was doing a double major in, I think, biology or zoology, I wanted it to be, zoology and filmmaking. And Bot Pirate says, draw from real life. Yes. Look, a great idea is to like get a video of an animal running or something, do a freeze frame and try to draw that. So that always helps. I'm going to give you another hint for this thing. Okay. After you use the hotel pen, find another pen. It doesn't have to be an artsy pen. Just get for something like this. Actually, this series is really good. I mean, they're sold as office supplies, the Uniball series. They're sold as office supplies, but they're like really beautiful art pens in their own right. So what you're going to do after you did the hotel pen, you're going to do a second pass around the important lines to give your creature more shape and form. And it's all about having fun. I mean, I kind of joked around a little saying, you don't have fully formed ideas, but actually I had lots of failed experiments and lots of drawings I just threw away, but you just have to smile and keep going at it. So when you shade your main creature with the secondary outline, it really stands out from the surrounding things. And it looks really like, well, this could almost be used as a full illustration. KBX Nexus says, when does the All Tomorrow's physical version come out? We have already funded it from the publisher, and they're just coming out of summer vacations this weekend. And I think the editing and everything will be ready by Christmas. So you'll be able to buy it. If you pledged, you already bought it, so don't worry. Zimbram says, when does the funding end? The funding is complete, but you could still pre-order from the pre-order page. Just Google All Tomorrow's funding and you'll get there. Oh my God! Someone bought me 12 coffees on... Thank you. That's a lot of money. Big Dick Dono. Thank you so much. Wow. What a nice donation. Ha! I'm so happy. Well, my friend, if you meet me in Turkey when you come here, I will give you this very drawing and a whole lot more. So you got your name on it. Ha! So nice. And look, the good thing about drawing big is if you scale it, it becomes really, really well proportioned. Now you notice there's something with the line that I don't like. The shading is too constant. I want the tail to be a bit darker. So this is where our hotel pens are going to come in. BTW says, okay, well, I guess we know who bought the coffee now. Can't promise, but thank you for the offer. Well, look, thank you. Thank you so much. Really. Like that amount you pledged, like I'm not going to name any numbers, but if I worked in an office job, that would be like half of my monthly salary. Half. Thank you. Cheers, Sherefe. So there's this thing called shading, and you notice the stripes are running this way. So we're going to make the tail darker. So we're going to use the hotel pen again, but just run the stripes to the other direction. So the two kinds of stripes meet, and you get like a second layer of shading. So now it looks more naturalistic. The tail looks really nice. I like this brightness here, but so the human eye is a very smart customer. So you notice there was this hint of a brightness here, but it was too thick. So it looked like a manatee's tail. Well, this is a fish. So I just slimmed down that line and adding some extra shading here. Yeah. And then the rest is just like you can finesse this as long as the night lasts. I mean, maybe some more lines under the ibis without making it stand apart. Zimbram says, I'm going to ask my dad to pledge for the book. Well, just a second. Let me give you the publisher address too. It's called unbound.com, unbound.com. And you just go to the web page, and All Tomorrows is the first thing you see in the landing page. BTW says, you're very welcome. The coffees I bought you were the least I can do. I've been freeloading for a long time, and you gave such a generous and thorough. Well, thank you. This, by the way, every Turkish viewer should take notice, is the difference in, well, economically too, but also in ethics between Americans and everybody who are not Americans. it is the British too, to a certain degree, but it is not by mistake that these people rule the world. They put their money where their mouths or ears are. So let's add some more details to the creature. Any other life or travel questions? By the way, I'm really happy to answer them all. Oh, I am drawing some like slither and fin marks for this fish because it crawled from the water somehow. Finger done. Zimbram says, when we pledge to all tomorrows, do you know where the names are going to be listed? I don't know precisely where, but I think they're going to be on like either a chapter after the book or just before the book in the special thanks section. And thank you for your pledge, by the way. And thanks to your dad. BTW says, we are in Istanbul only for 5 days. My wife doesn't want it, but I am contemplating one day from the city to visit Gallipoli and maybe Troy. Any thoughts? Okay, so if you are an Australian, I think you should take the day off to see Gallipoli because of the Anzacs. But if you're just casually interested, there's not much there. And Istanbul, like one extra day in Istanbul versus like a far off visit to, and a visit to Troy is never a single day. The return also takes a toll on you because the road is serviceable, like there's buses running through it and stuff, but still it's a tiring trip. BTW says we are from Kanukistan. I don't know, like, I mean, you could engineer your drive from Istanbul through Gallipoli, but even then, also that region suffered a very big fire recently, so it's kind of looking bleak. I would only go if you have like immediate relatives from the Anzac Corps buried in the cemetery. Then by all means go, but if not, nah. All the archaeology stuff from Troy is also in the Istanbul Archaeology Museum, so you're not missing out. Not missing out at all. Take 1 day for the Istanbul Archaeology Museum. 1 day, that place gives you. Checking some messages now. All right. Mm. Who are you says, hi, I am late to the party. What are we doing? Well, we just drew an incredible landfish with an ibis friend, just using a cheap hotel pen and like slightly cheap office pen. And then we were just exchanging travel advice for the Gallipoli region. And then lots of things. We're still taking questions. It's an hour and a half, and I think I will end the stream in half an hour or so. Bot Pirate says, any cool recent dreams? Some very cool dreams, but I can't reveal them. Well, while we're at it, we can take a look at how Moon the cockroach is doing. Do you remember that thing? I found a rare tortoise cockroach, and I've been keeping it as a pet here. Cool thing is, just a couple days ago, I found another tortoise cockroach. And let's check how these guys are doing. But before I touch them, I need to wash my hands, so I'll be right back. All right. Behold Ömün and its new friend. I don't know, Ömünella or something. And I will also show here in this video how I feed them. So that will be interesting. So I recently gave them some food, which was sweet potatoes. And it's a bit gross, but the best option is to just chew them into a sort of paste. And I'm going to be spit. That's how I do it. But that's how I feed this creature. And we also have some travel advice coming up. Yeah, baby bird style. Yes, that's how I feed Ömün the cockroach. I mean, these things are considered rare exotic pets overseas. It was surprising to see one on the street just like that. So I just got it and made a little container for it. I don't want to disturb it too much, but I hope I can find her. They love a dry substrate, and there's just this one corner I missed every now and then, and that's that. Nothing more. And yeah, By the way, let me give my travel advice because the creatures are hiding. I don't know where they are now. Um, we will be driving from Selçuk to Kaş and then to Antalya to fly home. Oh my God, brother! Look, that drive. I wish I could show and share maps. That drive is not easy because wait, let me look at maps. But I am gonna find this. Let's drive from Selçuk, İzmir to Kaş, Antalya. It says it's a 5-hour drive if you're lucky, but you will have no problem until Akyaka, Akyaka. Are you taking notes? Because you should. You'll be fine from İzmir to Akyaka because it's a highway. Then you transfer onto a kind of side road kind of thing, which is very curvy and it goes through some fucked up mountains. That's the price for getting this pristine natural beauty. The dangerous thing is the road is shared by lorries and they go to and fro. Some places the road drops to 2 lanes or even 1 lane. And then if you're driving from Kaş to Antalya, that road is very treacherous, especially around Demre or Adrasan. Like you're fine until you get to. I did a road trip from Antalya to Kaş actually, and it took us a single day just to get to Kaş. A whole day of driving. Granted, like I stopped at a lot of roadsides to like examine shit, but still it's a treacherous road. It's near the sea, lots of zigzags, climbs too. So it's like not only you have that like roll, but also pitch. So I would just hire a driver. If you got the money, I would just hire someone to drive you, or take a. Well, okay, you value your autonomy, but if you're coming from Canada and it's your first time in Turkey driving, if you drive in Turkey, you are an expert level driver. We make Italians look like the Swiss. I guess you're used to mountain drives, so like it's a very zigzaggy road, and especially after this Akyaka place, Akyaka, it gets very curvy and very mountainous. So like you'll be like rounding hills and stuff, and there's a truck coming from the other side. Like there's also like the light is very sparse, so there are no highway lights. So if you're driving in the night or in the evening, also be careful. One saving grace is you won't be doing that during the summer vacation, so it will be less crowded. But yeah. Where's this Ömrün? I did some driving in Italy. I mean, it is what it is. I'm sure you can make it, but okay. A trick here is to really treat your significant other before and after the trip, because it's going to be a trip. So, like, go have a fancy dinner and like. Oh, also, if you're in Çıralı, but you're going to Kaş. Are there any like If you're in Selçuk, I will give you the name of the restaurant who was operated by a gentleman who was a personal cook. I'm not making this up. Who was a personal cook in Selçuk of Saddam Hussein. He runs a small restaurant. It's very clean, very nice, very demure, very mindful. He runs a small restaurant, which is arguably the best in Selçuk city. It's an Anthony Bourdain kind of restaurant. It's beautiful. The guy is there or his son is there. I'm going to find the name of the restaurant for you now. Can you confirm you are hearing and receiving and acknowledging this, just in case? And let's look at maps. And let's look at Selçuk, where I will try street by street to find you the restaurant operated by the guy who has been personal cook to Saddam Hussein, and he does really great meat dishes. I'm just fumbling across Google Street View to find the place for you. Yes, the restaurant's name is Seçkin Ciğerci. It is it is this. I'm writing it on the chat. Please acknowledge if you can read it. And also, Ömün the cockroach has decided to make an appearance. Look at it. It's one of those polyphaga cockroaches, which have a scoot that makes it look like a little turtle or a fucking toad. There's Ömün. Hop. Look how quickly she disappears. Hop. Huh. Ömün. Adorable. So cute. Anyways, hope she likes my vomit in there. That's that. Okay. Look, it's still rustling about. Okay. Okay, let's put Ömün away and get back to Seljuk and Ephesus. Do you know about Ottoman history? A lot, actually. Jerry Caleb says about the cook for Saddam Hussein. He learned to cook or else. Yeah. When you go there, check out the diploma he got from the Italian company, and like There was an Italian company that did catering for Saddam Hussein, and that's his like diploma of accomplishment. Polyps conglomeration says just got home from school. Well, welcome. Now this stream just got really fun and cozy. Who are you says, what is your favorite old native Anatolian polity? Hittites, Lycia, Palla, and I think it would have to be Phrygia because the whole region is already magical and they just have this incredible. Also, it's really close to one of my favorite cities in the world, Eskişehir. The whole valley is like Cappadocia, but also crossed with the Lord of the Rings. There are great cedar trees everywhere, and it's just a fantastic, very mystical part of Anatolia. Zimbrim says, do you know history? Depends on which sort of history, but I'd like to pretend I'm pretty good at it. Zimbrim says, who is your favorite sultan? I have two favorites. Two favorite Ottoman sultans. Actually, the number could really increase. I am a big fan of Yıldırım Bayezid, who unfortunately lost the Battle of Ankara, ushering in a period of Timurid tumult. I'm a big fan of Mehmed the Conqueror because he really seemed to be a Renaissance man under all the military honors. You know, he knew Greek, he had a Greek mother. He kept the church of Hagia Erini Greek for her mother to worship in. I'm also a big fan of Sultan Abdülhamid II. A lot of Turkish people give him a bad rap because you need to understand Turkish history, especially modern history, is pivoted on the central figure of Mustafa Kemal Atatürk. He's like Churchill, George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, all combined into one times 10. Really, in human history, there's always been debates about whether history is up to great man or whether it's a inevitable tide that individuals have no effect on. And maybe by some cosmic coincidence, the region of Macedonia gave the world its most heroic, majestic Greek in the form of Alexander the Great. The same region gave the world its most heroic Turk in the form of Mustafa Kemal Atatürk. He is also single-handedly, I think, responsible for, I mean, if I am here talking to you, it's probably because of his reforms. He was an authoritarian, and some brainless people who should know better in the early 2000s made a kind of stupid cottage industry out of saying, oh, Atatürk was an authoritarian. Name a person in Europe in that decade who wasn't an autocrat. And then they obviously, these people, contemporary critics of Atatürk are almost always kislings or traitors. Out of that strange pseudo-intellectual pursuit also grew in some circles a need to create an anti-Atatürk. And these people latched on to the figure of Abdülhamid II, who espoused a pan-Islamist policy, who towards the end of his reign was extremely paranoid and stifling. When he was deposed, the entire country rose up in celebration. Almost a decade later, the country fell apart. I am, therefore, actually, in retrospect, a great fan of, I'm a really big proponent of Abdülhamid II. In him, we see a tragic figure who did his best to modernize his country and to hold it together in opposition to vicious European forces who were pillaging the world at the time. He was an anti-hero, but like Darth Vader is also an anti-hero. Abdülhamid put in place many reforms and technical foundations and infrastructure, which later on was instrumental in the more modern industrialization of the Turkish Republic. And I think it's just silly and childish to pick sides. Like, you like Atatürk, therefore you must hate Abdülhamid, or you like Abdülhamid, therefore you must be a Ottomanist or whatever. No. Everybody who ruled this land ruled for one purpose: to keep the land integral. You could say it even about the current people running the country. So, like, long answer, I know, but that's why Abdülhamid II is one of my favorite Ottoman sultans. He was a dark figure, but like, who wasn't? I mean, my mother, like, in the same time, Leopold II was running Belgium and massacring millions in Africa. And like, what is your metric? Polyps Conglomeration says, I'm racially English and German, and even I think Atatürk was great. I mean, I think it's one of the few cults of personality that are really deserved. If it hadn't been for Atatürk, Turkey from Thrace to Eastern Anatolia would be like one scattered and divided Balkan hellscape. You see, like, you look to the west, you see the Balkans. Oh, so quaint, many little countries, many weird people, many weird cities. Haha. Have you ever been there? I have traveled across the Balkans. One thing I can say, it's a very dejected, resigned landscape. No hope for the future there. Same story with the Kafkas. Now, granted, that region was fragmented due to geography. Armenia, Georgia, Azerbaijan. It's like, smaller states, so cute, so kawaii. Well, you saw how kawaii. They start fighting wars between each other the first chance they get. If it had not been for Atatürk, it would have been the same story. From Edirne to Van. And you think the 20th century was bad, how do you think World War II would have panned out in such a landscape? Actually, it's among Turkish Jews, Atatürk is credited with keeping the land solid so it did not break up in World War II and the Nazis did not roll through it. So in that respect, he's seen as a savior. Another nice question from, what's an obscure historical civilization you have a lot of knowledge about or interest in? I like the Bactria-Margiana complex. Are these the post-Alexandrian states that they set up near the Hindu Kush Mountains. I need to look that up. Bactria margiana. Oh, it's a Middle Bronze Age civilization. I did not know about this civilization at all. Wow. You learn a new thing every day. I like the Dodecanese Islands as a geographic region. This set of islands who used to belong to Venice, then the Ottomans took them, and then it was given to the Italians, and then they passed on to Greece. Same story with Crete. I like that region. I'm also really interested in the Maghreb in the early 20th century, where they had like really modern cities, which were later wiped out in post-colonial wars. That must have been an interesting time. Uh, not many. I'm like very well informed about a certain community of Sabbatians, followers of a wayward Jewish Messiah in the late 1600s. Sabbateans or Sabbathaiceler or the Dönme. I know a lot about them, descending from them, one would. But yeah, nothing in deep about like deep time or early prehistory like that. All right. Almost 2 hours. Any closing comments or questions? What do you think, everybody? Just gonna call it a night soon. Astromango says this is the first live stream I've actually watched. Well, would you recommend it or? Orny says, even in the 1990s Canada, there were people who were like empathy. I think this is in reference to figures like Abdul Hamid or Atatürk. The job of a ruler until recently was not a popularity contest. You did not have to be likable. And sometimes, in order to rule weird multi-ethnic empires, you have to be an asshole. If you crave power in any way or form, you have to be an asshole. Who are you says 11 out of 10 would recommend. Bot Pirate says thanks you for having a consistently pleasant attitude. Thank you. Blake Richardson says I finished a landfish and a basking shark drawing during one stream. Well, great. Blake Richardson is also drawing really nice spinosaurs, which I really like. Okay, people make their best drawings here, and 24 people watching. Well, a lot more people came in. We dropped to like 15 or 17. Now more people are in the room. What do you like? Any last questions? Let me know. Count me as two because my dog is watching too. Well, who are you says, what is your favorite therapsid? Good question. I think it would have to be Lycenops, the long-faced one. So therapsids were a group of mammal-like reptiles and especially carnivorous ones. and they were really diverse. And among them, there was one called Lycenops, which had like a really long face. Big fan of those. There's also some really weird related forms too, like Njalila, or it's also called Digzea, which has a weird name, and it's got like big jaws too. There's a species known as Gorgonops, which has a hatchet-shaped head, and it's roughly the size of a pit bull. They're all cool. Do you ever write something then don't share it? You mean on Twitter or shit, or generally? I write a lot of weird fiction stories, which I'm actually keeping away, stored, hidden, because I want to publish them in like a big compilation book. Brother Man says, can you suggest additional ways to deal with the heat? I hate being sweaty and it really limits me. Well, my brother man, my fellow man, my brother in Christ, or whatever you believe in, there are a few ways. One is going to a place with air conditioning, but it gets you sick too. So I'm not a big fan of ACs. Then, by the way, if you like my weird short stories, there's a free short story in my Patreon. So support me on Patreon, as little as $1 per month. About the heat, you can just ride it out. I mean, that's what I do sometimes. I just tell myself, I know it's going to be like life in slow motion. I'm going to be angry and tired all the time. It is what it is. Just let the heat wash over you. And it's hard to do that when you're at home, but when you're in a public space, it feels a bit cozy dealing with the tropical heat. Like that's what I did today. I went out to town and was drawing and sketching. So that's that. Ooh. Absentfish says, I have an interview for a PhD position tomorrow online. Any advice? Well, about interview advice. So it's a different. Before interview advice, let me finish up the heat advice. You always have to keep hydrated. Like set up an alarm or just look at the clock. Every 2 hours, get like a big bottle of water to drink, at least half a liter. Well, don't drink magnesia cosmetic. Tobacco cologne, for Christ's sake. But always need to drink water. Okay. And another thing about the heat, Gatorade really works, especially the blue one. Go get that. If you're an American, there's actually lots of alternatives. So yeah, get hydrated, keep minerals in your body, eat lots of salt and sugar also. Gets you isotonic and stuff. Also, about the interview stuff. So it's a weird mix. On one hand, you have to act like you got this. But on the other hand, you shouldn't be very cocky. Just assume that if these people are giving you the time of the day, you're halfway there. Don't get excited. Like, personally, but this could be just me. When I'm doing any interview, it's just like this talk here. I don't always succeed at them, but I always go in knowing what I know. I'm always honest. And Try to be brief, maybe. Also look up who you're going to interview. Stalk them. Maybe you'll come across some pointers about their lines of research or stuff like that. And as Who Are You says, deep and slow breaths help with the heat. They also help with anxiety. Less irritating says, any tips to overcome driving anxiety for beginners? Maybe not take tips from me because I never had any anxiety for any of this thing. Not for driving, not for speaking, not for dating, not for socializing, not for art, never. I wasn't cocky either. It was just like, okay, this is it. I can do it, whatever. Especially if you're driving on American roads, it's like piloting a little tyke story, you know? You got this. You're driving automatic shift. Come on. And a good advice, though, a few technical tips, of course, like driving is not just a matter of character or confidence. So here's some tips and tricks from Turkish traffic. If there's a pedestrian in front of you, stop the car. Don't assume that, okay, I'll have passed until he's moved on, because what if he trips? You're going to run him over. Don't do that. Stop the car, wait for him to leave, then move again. A similar thing with drivers. You might call me sexist, but especially with lady drivers who are old, be careful. Wait, let them go, then go your way. Same with cocky guy drivers, actually. Like, you're not in a race. Don't be in a hurry to overtake everybody. If someone's pressing you from behind, don't budge. Don't be excited. Especially if you're driving for Americans and the non-British, on the slow lane, they can overtake you. If they honk their fucking horn, it's their problem. Also, don't be afraid to honk. Like, believe me, here's another thing. Like, imagine there's a car stopping here, okay? And you're coming. What if they suddenly open the door? Chat. I've seen people get killed that way. It happened in front of me. Like, I don't know if they were killed, but there was a car really driving fast, and some idiot opened the door, and like, bam! He slammed the guy back into the car. So when there's a car parked, always be careful. They might open the door. For this reason, when there's like somebody like at an intersection, even if you got the right of the road, or passengers, maybe they got the earbuds and shit, always honk the horn. See, when I'm driving, like if there's like somebody coming for me, I go that, that, that, 3 sharp bursts. Doesn't fucking care. Doesn't matter. Oh, you're driving in Ankara. Okay. Then all of these lessons will be useful for you. Yeah, you'll be fine. Let me get up, actually. Okay, since there's 20 of you and this is such a nice night, I'm going to get like a 10-minute extension if you got any extra questions. If you got any extra questions, just let me know. I'm going to answer a call of nature, and I'll be right back. Gotta do the... I'm back with these late night goon cucumbers, salted, succulent, ready to go. Uh. Oh. Mm. Mm. Oh. Mm. Mm. Probably understand why I call it. Mm. I'm scooping it out like a boat. Mm. Why? You probably understand why I'm calling these goon cucumbers because, oh, sound like a right goon while eating them. Mm. Mm. Oh. Oh. Mm. Mm. Someone was asking me about heat advice, cold cucumbers with lots of salt on them. Also, a great, great medicine against the heat. Mm. Mm. Oh. Astromango says, any advice on drawing this late at night? Too general, but just keep drawing. Draw from real life. Videos for stuff says, what is the strangest type of meat you ate? I think it was alligator meat at Kahun night during my time in Cornell University. And I really love that stuff. It's like the best bits of beef and chicken combined. Mm. What is the strangest type of meat you would eat? Says, I would eat anything except human meat. And I probably wouldn't like to eat meat from endangered animals, but I would be curious to see, for example, what whale meat tastes like. Not really ethical, but I mean, I'm curious. Less irritating says, driving in Ankara is hard. Traffic is insane in the Turkish city of Ankara. Well, yeah, same here in Istanbul. That's why I almost never take my car out. Beat says, here's some car advice. If you have an argument, never get out of the car. Yes, very true. Zebream says a lot of, hi, how are you? Hi, how are you? Thanks for the stream. Have to go now. Bye. And then what's in the new old tomorrow's book? Follow me on Patreon and maybe you'll find out. What's the strangest request that someone has ever asked you? Uh, out of the things that I could tell that won't get this channel banned, I don't know. I had to help. There was a young woman and her really old father, like he was like senile, and like it was just on the streets, and she was like really despondent about some things. I was wrong, and she wanted me to help make her dad pee because. So I got in the arms of the old guy and just looked away while he peed. It was really like strange, but also sad. Beat says, "Do you have any plan to come to Turkey and giving a talk? I would love to join." My brother, I am in Turkey. I got no plans to do any public events related to this stream or all tomorrows or anything. Sometimes, if you follow me on the proper social media channels, I do have these meetups where I go to a cafe, and if anybody's in the vicinity, they can come and I can give them gift sketches and art. But these things happen like once or twice a year. You just have to follow me. Who are you says, "I recently learned there are poisonous birds but no venomous ones. Likewise, there are venomous mammals but no poisonous ones. Why do you think that might be?" It's because humans have a silly way of naming these things and making them into categories. I mean, if the poisonous gland is in the skin, it's poisonous. If it's in your mouth, you're venomous. And I'm sure they're not looking hard. I'm certain, like couscous primates, for example, they have spikes on their weird spikes on their necks. I'm sure there are poison glands associated with those, or like even like just funky sweat could be considered to be a form of poison. And like, this is not, I'm not commenting this on you, but sometimes during conversation I confuse poison with venom. It's like, actually, snakes are venomous, not poisonous. The animal has some sort of poison in it. I think it is within my grounds to call it poisonous. Zimbram says, "What inspired you for the Kuhanim and all tomorrows?" I do not answer all tomorrow's questions. But if you want to know more, follow me on Patreon. Put your money where your curiosity is. Louis J says, "Is the stream nearing its end?" Well, I was going to end it, but now there's more people than ever, so I'm going to keep it up for a bit more. So I think you got like at least 10, 20 more minutes. Just going to check some messages now. Mm, mm, mm, mm, mm, mm, mhm. Zimbram says, "Will you ever visit the UK? I want to visit for the next TetsuCon. Trouble is, visas are hard to acquire these days for the UK, US, anywhere. Also, travel costs so fucking much. And it's a fucking hassle." Louis J says, "Can your next in-depth nature series be about dragonflies and damselflies? I love your comprehensive videos and I love odonates. Uh, there are so many species of insects. Wait, let me look at Odonata. How many species? Turns out there's a single species of something that looks like a dragonfly, and it's called Epiophlebia, a single genus with 4 species, and it's the sole surviving member of a group adjacent to dragonflies and damselflies, but actually are not related to either. So that's interesting. Look, there's 3,000 species of dragonflies alone, okay? And then what's the species count here? 18 families of damselflies alone. So it's enormous. It's like too much for one person to. Maybe I could just focus on damselflies, but I don't know. I don't know. Who are you? Says, do you like alternate history? Yes, I was a big alt hist fan. I read a lot of Harry Turtledove books. He's got a recent series called Hot War, which I last read it last year. It was really good. A lot of other stories by Harry Turtledove too. He's a great writer. I read a lot of stuff by S.M. Sterling, including the Draka series, and I really like it. It's really dark, nice fiction. I also read a bunch of other things like What If America, What If Europe. There's one called Alas Babylon, which is a hypothetical atomic global nuclear confrontation book. I really like that. Big altist fan. My favorite altist novel is Years of Rice and Salt. I haven't read that. Must be nice. Let me look it up. Of Rice and Salt by Kim Stanley Roberts. Very interesting. Yep, it's in my to buy list now. And it's a series too. 8 books. Nice. And it's got a global scope. Oh. Boris Chonev says, hello, Mr. Kozeman. Hello and good night. I'm about to go to sleep. It's been 2.5 hours. Louis J says, is your life better without Instagram? I am back on Instagram. For those who don't know, the Turkish government, in a weird bid to ensure its citizens' mindfulness, I guess, banned access to Instagram for a week and a half, then unbanned it. I just didn't post anything new because my top posts, like my most recent 3 posts, are about the All Tomorrow's book funding drive. And because I don't use a smartphone, I use a dumb phone like this. And because of this, I cannot pin posts on Instagram. And because of that, I just haven't uploaded anything. Good night, says Boris Chonev. Who are you says good night. Who are you? What was your favorite part of tonight's stream? Boris Chonev says, haste is of the devil. Sometimes a slow life is a better one. 100% agree. 1000% agree. Everybody likes the landfish. Okay. Any closing words before say good night properly? Thank you for all your time and joining me on the stream. I wish you all a good night, and I love you all. Good night, parasocial friends. Good night to Ömün the Cockroach says, who are you? Lots of hearts coming through. Okay, you got fished. Boom!